Senator Dr. Ochilo Ayako. Many thanks for staying with us on News Center. Now, there has been major promises of arrest from State House when it comes to matters graft. In the recent months, we've seen a renewed war, really, with the DPP and the DCI summoning major state officers for questioning in matters graft. But this still has not put a stop to the theft of public resources. What seems to be the underlying problem here?
The underlying problem is that I think we have tried to cast in stone the assumption of innocence, that a person is assumed or presumed to be innocent until convicted. That is not how to conduct public affairs. I think those in positions of responsibility must take the issue of vetting seriously. Any person suspected, if there is an inkling, a clue that you are a wayward person, you should not hold public office.
Right.
Let alone being dragged into court, tried and convicted. That's another process. But having a manager, having a head of a board, having a politician, having any person discharge a public mandate who is tainted. And, you know, that is what is called administrative way of fighting graft.
Right.
If the presidency, the leadership of this country, those with the responsibility to appoint, were just to look at the officers they have appointed, they will find a lot of, you know, ethical uncleanliness, ethical adulteration around these fellas, and they would remove them. Then Kenyans would begin to know that you can only hold public office if you are ethically appropriate. But so that we do not wait until you are dragged into court. That is not happening.
Dr. Ayako, the thing is, what is the goodwill from the entire government itself? Because government has three arms of government. It's not just the executive and the judiciary. There is also parliament, made up of both the National Assembly and the senators. And the National Assembly, or Parliament rather, can use the power vested in the Constitution to make these changes. Has that been seen from Parliament? I'm
telling you, there is no adequate goodwill. We are in, and I must say I'm also part of leadership because I'm elected. We are not doing as well as we should be doing. When reports are brought to Senate, when reports are brought to National Assembly, the manner in which we debate, the manner in which we vote, you will find that what we value most is perhaps identity loyalty, loyalty to things that are not important to Kenya. We are not committed as people, individuals, and as institution to make sure that we are a graft-free nation. So that is a problem. But there are also other areas, those who appoint people in places of responsibility. That is also not being done. The judiciary, you look at it, I think the orientation of the judiciary is emphasis on rights without knowing how anxious members of the public are. When you watch the media, both social and mainstream media, you look at the starvation in Turkana, you look at unemployment, runaway unemployment in the nation. We are sitting on a powder keg, and as a nation, if we do not act, and I hope the president meant what he said, the public will take things into their own hands.
But the public takes things into their own hands by electing leaders to parliament to represent them. So if our leaders in parliament do not show that goodwill, then what hope do we have?
The public may even go beyond that. Remember nations like nations like France under the French Revolution, things collapsed. Nations like Yugoslavia collapsed when the public no longer had sufficient confidence in the political class. I hope that this kind of thing does not happen in Kenya. We do not get a revolution, because a revolution knows nobody. It will overturn and decimate everything. So in a civilized society like the one we have, I believe that as leaders, and on my part, I want to do as best as I can. We all get tempted, but we pray that we are led out of temptation, not into temptation by God. I hope some summon sufficient strength to deal with graft, to deal with the temptation to take what does not belong to us.
Let's talk more about that temptation, because there is a strong belief that if graft was made unattractive enough, then nobody will be tempted to take part in graft. Have we succeeded in making graft unattractive, other than taking people to court, seizing of resources, and more stringent measures like what China is doing, for example?
We haven't. We are far. We have made what is called a knee-jerk effort. We have the president has talked very explicit about it. The People's President Raila Odinga has talked very firmly about it, but to me these are still mere talk. We need to match the talk with action. And people who have a little money, people who have come by resources, have now found a platform in churches. Even churches are praying for them, giving them an opportunity to market whatever they have because they have brought money.
Right.
The electorate, the poor people are getting confused because in order to talk to any gathering and confuse that gathering, your qualification is how much or how deep your pocket is. Mm-hmm. And that is the unfortunate situation, because until that humble person, until that church or that Muslim leader, and until all of us will start questioning how you earned, and until the media is able to hold us to account and ask us, can you look very wealthy? What business do you do? Mm-hmm. In the West, in places like America, in UK, those millionaires are very happy to tell their story, what they did to earn the money. In Kenya, we are not that generous with the information. We are very opaque. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't even tell you what we own. We wouldn't tell you what we did in order to own it. So corruption and acquisition by the political class has overrun even our own morals. Right. And we need to do a lot in order to bring everybody on board, to have zero tolerance for those who have wealth that they cannot explain. Even people who evade taxes, they stand in public and say that I have donated this. Tax evaders in the US, in UK, you would go to jail for a very long time.
And the thing is, and even as we wind up, the reason they go to jail after, for a very long time and very quickly is because the institutions mandated with graft in the country are working well together. Let's talk about the process, the progress of our anti-graft institutions, the DCI, the ESCC, the progress of the Asset Recovery Authority, for example. How well are they doing in your view?
They are not doing well lately because of the firm and focused rhetoric, and I want to say rhetoric, by leadership, particularly the president. Quite a number of those institutions are reawakening. They are beginning to regain focus, and hopefully, for optimists like me, something will happen. But if we are to assess them where we are right now, those institutions are underfunded. Those institutions, in terms of establishment, the expertise, the skills of the officers occupying them is still wanting. Those institutions are not insulated from political threats, the kind that are manifested by the deputy president and those who follow him all over the country, threatening those institutions.
All right. Your final word in matters corruption, because there have been many questions even on Twitter, because some say before the handshake, then the opposition will be blaming the president squarely for matters corruption, but after the handshake, they're now blaming the deputy president. What makes Kenyans believe this is not a politicized war on graft? Your final comments.
I want to state very clearly that it was very easy to create a narrative that an opposition politician like Raila, like myself, like Kalonzo Musyoka or Mudavadi, saying that dam money has been lost, it would be dismissed as politics, trying to destabilize the government. Now, opposition politicians have said, you got elected in 2017, we are giving you the mandate and the support, fight graft. Do not come back and say that we want to torpedo your government. So I think handshake in terms of creating political stability and giving the presidency focus to singularly and to unequivocally fight corruption has done tremendous. The deputy president claiming that he's being targeted, that is trying to bury his head in the sand like the proverbial ostrich. Corruption or public funds are lost day in, day out, and somebody must be losing them. I'm yet to find out who has directly mentioned the deputy president. And it is said in Africa, when you see somebody running without another chasing that person, they must be knowing why they are running. Maybe he knows why he's running and crying foul that people are pursuing over corruption. Nobody has mentioned his name.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us. That is Migori Senator